I've noticed a trend of a lot of people getting into belly dancing. Shakira has done a great job of popularizing the art. Her performance at the VMAs was everything. I don't know if you guys saw it with the
The
knives.
most recent one? No, I haven't.
No,
Yeah,
it
no,
was
I
so
haven't.
cool. And I think people look up to that and they
Was it
see it.
anything like Britney Spears with the knives?
Uh-oh.
No,
All
not
right,
at
because
all.
if it was, then I don't.
Not at all. No, she was.
That was kind of crazy. Yeah, let's get started because
Awesome.
we got a lot to talk about. You're
Okay.
going to be a great guest, I could already
Thanks.
tell. So,
Thanks.
today we got Helen Blondel in the building in the Miami Hustle.
Hi. Hey,
She is
everyone.
a singer, a belly dancer, a content creator, and an author. She wrote a book called Bellydance Business 101. So, not only is she teaching people how to belly dance, she's also teaching people how to make a business out of belly dance. So, shout out to you. Thank you for
Thank
your time,
thank
first
you
of
for
all.
having me.
Anytime. Thank you for pulling up to the Miami Hustle. And just so everyone knows a little bit about you before we get into the dancing and the singing, where were you born and raised? And how did you end up in Miami?
Yeah, so I was born in New York, raised in Kissimmee, Florida, very close to Orlando, and I moved to Miami for school. So I was actually first studying music to be a vocalist, and then I changed my major to hospitality. And yeah, from there I graduated, and then pretty soon after I moved to back to Orlando. Hmm.
Nice. Well, shout out to hospitality, everyone out there in hospitality.
Yeah.
You already know Miami is a great place for hospitality. I bartend, so
Oh
I'm
yeah.
all up in that space. But
Yeah.
yeah, how did you go from wanting to learn singing to then learning hospitality? Like, why'd you make that change?
Yeah, so I realized that with being a singer, because that was my dream, it still is, and I'm so happy that I'm living my dream, but being an artist, you don't necessarily need a degree for that. And I wanted to have something that I could utilize as a way of having a backup plan. And so after my first year in music, I was realizing, this is awesome, but what else can I do that's going to give me something to fall back on? I also think that when you're first starting out with any business venture or artistic venture, there's a lot of people that are trying to not necessarily on purpose, but maybe say, oh, don't you think you should do something that's going to be a little more solid, more set in stone? So I thought, what's something else that I think I can do and that I think I'm good at? And for me, that was hospitality. We're in Florida, Orlando, Miami. It's perfect for that. So that was factored in with my choice and my decision of changing my major.
Nice. So as you were building your singing career and
Mhm.
I'm assuming your dancing career too, you would
Mhm.
have hospitality to basically like have that solid job.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's good because I know hospitality, it's very flexible with your
Mhm.
hours, so it allows you to make good money, but then also be off on certain days if you have to be off.
Yeah, that's true. And another thing that I really like about hospitality is that with dance and with singing and with all the other performance arts and even the visual arts, it's very enmeshed with hospitality, like restaurant business, travel, all of these things. Because how many times do you see at the bar or at the restaurant artists performing? And it's very similar. You have to have good customer service, you have to know how to think quick on your feet. So the things go hand in hand with each other. And yeah, I apply things still to this day. I apply things that I learned in hospitality to my career as an artist.
Nice. That's
Thanks.
amazing. So how
Thank
long have you been singing for?
Wow. I've been singing my whole life,
Hey.
ever since I was maybe 8 years old. Yeah.
Nice. And that's led you to, you said that you're living your dreams as a singer. So
Hmm.
how were you able to go from, singing when you're 8 to singing now when you have like life? getting thrown at you with like a job and
Yeah.
friends and socializing and everything?
It's a lot. I would say that when you're in it, there's so many challenges and hurdles that you have to overcome. And one of the challenges for me was time management, balancing a social life, balancing school and work because I was already doing musical gigs, start like paid gigs. I started doing them around like 16 years old. So just balancing all of that, it was a big challenge, but when you know what you want to do, you just go for it. No matter how hard it is, it's something you just got to do.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like if you want to go for something, each day that passes by that you don't go for it, it's like killing you inside. If
That's
you really
very
want it.
true. Yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
How did you learn the business of singing? Because you said that you started getting paid when you were like 16. So
Mhm.
was that from maybe a manager or a talent agent, or was that just
Mhm.
you going out there and figuring it out?
It was me going out there and figuring it out. I really wanted a manager and a talent agent, like, that would have been amazing, but those resources weren't available to me at the time, and I just knew I really wanted to do it. Some things that helped me out was that I was in band and I was in choir, and I also participated in singing competitions. And with singing competitions and all of the events that you do throughout the years, you meet people, you network with people, and through networking and through just word of mouth, things just kind of snowballed, and it was really good. Yeah.
Nice. So after
Mhm.
you got that first gig, how did you feel to actually get paid for something that you love?
It was amazing. I think at 16, 17 years old, uh we're so green, right? So we what we're thinking about is like being on stage and being able to share our love of the art form. So when we're doing that and we're able to actually get paid for it, it's like, whoa, this is awesome. I want more of this.
Yeah, for sure.
You're too young to realize how good a thing it is at that moment.
Exactly. Yeah, that's very true.
You said you were doing competitions, like you were trying to go like on America's Got Talent, American Idol, like that's what you were trying to do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I was auditioning for those competitions as well, but I was also doing local competitions.
gotcha.
So Central Florida's Next Big Star, La Última Melodia, that one was actually here in Miami. So many different competitions throughout my career as a singer. And it also helps because a lot of times when we are in anything that there's a competition, sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. And it's in those losses that we learn. And the feeling of losing is something that I feel every artist, business person, no matter what you're doing, you have to feel, because that's what's going to drive you to get better. That's what's going to drive you to say, okay, what is it that I'm not doing so that I can improve for the next time I go and I do a competition. And that was a great lesson as
Yeah,
well.
Yeah, for
it
sure.
sucks to fail, but it's super necessary. You kind of have to go through those
Yeah.
and take your L's.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, shout out to you for doing that and going through some losses by yourself.
Mhm.
Because being a singer, that could be a very lonely thing to do by yourself. Because if you have a bad performance or whatever, it's not like
Mhm.
you could blame anyone else. It's just you, and
Yeah.
then you got to get back on your feet and then go book that next one, especially without a manager or a talent agent. So that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank
How
you.
are you able to go from singing to dancing? Was dancing something you always loved too, or was that something like, oh, I'm doing good at singing and I see there's available bookings for dancers, let me do that too?
Yeah, so actually my singing was what allowed me to get into belly dancing. So I've always been into different cultures, different music, especially music, from the East, Arabic music, other Middle Eastern music. I've always been into that. But I had two left feet, like could not dance at all.
Didn't expect that.
Uh huh.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I think it was one of those things where it was a positive challenge for me to like get into something that I wanted to do, but I also it was hard. So how I got into it was that I went to an art school, and for high school I went to a school for the arts as a vocalist. And every Wednesday there was a like a recital that all of us would go to. So it was kind of like our version of a pep rally. Every Wednesday we had like these pep rallies,
Yeah.
but it was a recital. And one day there was a group called Whirlwind Dancers, and they were a belly dance club. And I was like, wow, they're so beautiful. It's the sparkles, the dancing, the music. It was almost as if I saw myself in that group. And after the fact, I went and I spoke with the director of the group, and I said, hi, I really want to be part of this group. Do you have any openings? And she's like, yeah, I actually do, but there's an audition. Now I had 2 left feet.
Yeah, no pressure.
so so I didn't make it. Long story short, I did not
How
make
old
it.
were you at this time when
I
you?
was 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when I didn't make it, I was super disappointed, and I said, okay, I'm going to do everything possible to get good so that next year I get in the group. So I practiced. I took belly dance classes with a teacher in Orlando, and I just practiced every day, practicing for 2 to 3 hours, learning everything about the art, learning how to improvise as well. And next year comes around, the following year, and the director moved. So Whirlwind Dancers was not
Just
a thing.
disappeared.
Wow.
It just disappeared. Nobody took over the club.
Oh no.
And here I was, like, I fell in love with belly dance. It was something that I enjoyed just as much as singing. And I just continued to pursue it. When I moved here to Miami, I started doing work professionally. And yeah, it's been sparkle ever since.
Nice. Well, shout out to you for taking that L, because like we talked about, it
Yeah.
made you better for sure. So then let's fast forward a little bit to now,
Mhm.
you have your career going. I'm assuming, did you graduate with your
Mhm.
hospitality degree?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you have that going for yourself, but you
Mhm.
also are building your own business when it comes to singing and dancing.
Yes.
So how are you able to manage that? Now, do you have a manager, or it's still by yourself getting all these bookings?
Still self-managed, yeah.
Well, nice. That's really impressive because we've been following you for a couple months now, and you stay busy, and not only here in Miami, but in pretty much all over. So how do you do that? Like, I'm assuming you have to dedicate time to then make these emails and calls yourself.
Absolutely. So the thing with when you're a professional and when you reach a certain level of different work, whether it be shows, um, TV appearances, classes, brand deals, there's a whole administrative side to it, which it's part of any business, but balancing the administrative side of it and then also doing the actual application of like performing, it's a lot. It's very time consuming. So it's a lot of time management. It's a lot of lonely nights, sleepless nights, a lot of times that you can't go out with your friends. Your friends text you, hey girl, do you want to go out? I'm sorry, I gotta answer these emails, and then after that, I gotta make content. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
But when you wanna do something, you find a way to do it, even if it's hard. Yes, not having a manager and not having an agent, it makes the workload very hard or harder, but it's also a blessing in disguise because I have full agency over everything I'm doing. So,
And it's preparing you for when you do get a manager, like like all the ins and outs. Like this is what I expect of this person.
yeah.
You're gonna be able to coach them, guide them into this is exactly what I need.
Absolutely. Yeah. And definitely, I look forward to one day or very soon having a manager to help me. But absolutely, it's one of those things where in any connection, any relationship that's business oriented, you need to be on the same page. You need to make sure that what's making sense for this person also makes sense for you, vice versa. And so yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to soon,
I
hopefully.
bet you're
Yeah.
doing so many things.
Thanks.
Like impressive. It's honestly there's so
Yeah.
much going on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely a hustler. That's why you're on the show.
Hey.
We respect the hustle always.
Thanks.
And we know it's not easy, but you definitely get it done. Is having a manager something that you want to have in the future, or you're good by yourself doing what you do?
I feel like I've done a lot being self-managed. However, of course, if that's in the plan for me to get a manager to help me get to that next level and we will work together, that would be amazing. It would be awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
any managers that
Calling
are
out all managers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody listening, hit her up. You already know she's a hard worker for sure.
Thank you.
But so yeah, like when it comes to belly dancing, these shows that you do, they're very, I would just say, like unique. Like not many restaurants that I've been to have belly dancers perform. So is that like a niche that you found and you just call all of those restaurants, or how do you get into business?
Yeah, so a lot of times it's cold calling or cold emailing. Sometimes if I'm in a restaurant, and let's say it's not a restaurant that you would see belly dancing at, I would still, if the manager is there, let them know, hey, I offer variety entertainment. And some people, they try it out. Maybe it works for them, maybe it doesn't. But it's all about just letting it be known. There's a saying, closed mouths do not get fed. So you always want to let people know what you offer because, sure, people may say no, but they also might surprise you.
100%. You
Yeah.
said you call and you say I have variety entertainment. Do you do belly dancing and singing at the same time?
Now I do.
Oh, okay.
Now I do. That was a challenge artistically.
imagine.
Yeah, because, to balance singing and belly dancing, there's so much going on. So the way that I was able to balance that is actually coming out with my music, which is dance oriented. So I have some music that talks about shimmying, talks about dancing. It has those beats in it. And actually recently I did like a singing and dancing sort of thing to my music, and it was fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm asking because that sounds so difficult. Like I can't move like a belly dancer. It's literally impossible. Like
I mean,
I don't know how they do
maybe
that.
if you read this book,
I think I'm definitely reading the book and maybe it'll give me some pointers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the number one thing is like as many times, like when you do something for enough times, you learn. It's like riding a bike. For me, I would say what made it easier for me to combine things like belly dance and singing, and what made it easier to feel comfortable on stage was just going and doing it, not being afraid of messing up. And if I did mess up, look at it, laugh, and say, okay, now I know what not to do again. So, yeah.
so when it comes to writing this book, when did you decide that this book needed to be written and why?
So around 2019, my content started going viral on Instagram. And right during the pandemic, my content started going viral on TikTok. And through those avenues, I noticed that I started getting brand deals, more work as a dancer. And then as everything started coming back, like everything with my audience and people following me, I got so many questions like, oh, Helen, how do you get gigs? What advice do you have for a dancer starting out? So a lot of novice dancers, dance enthusiasts, they were coming to me asking for advice. And it was just a lot of the same questions over and over again. So I thought, why not consolidate all of the information into a book?
Yeah, that's smart.
Buy my book.
Yeah. So would you like to tell us maybe some like golden nuggets from this book?
Yeah, absolutely. So my book, Bellydance Business 101, it it is like your mini mentor. I think that anybody, regardless of what business you're in, what field you're in, it's important to have a mentor of some kind. Unfortunately, a lot of us can't have mentors because there's a lot of things we're doing and time management and things like that. This is a great way to have a mentorship right at your hands wherever you are, whenever you feel like it. This book talks about how to find yourself as an artist, the things to do and not to do when you're at a show, etiquette, administrative skills, how to start getting work in the industry and actually making money. So there's a little something for everybody in this book. And whatever challenges you have as a dancer or as an artist in general, it's going to be in this book.
Nice.
No, it's
And
gonna help a lot of people, without a doubt.
Thank you.
yeah, for sure. I've never seen any book about belly dancing, so that's interesting. It definitely stands out.
Nor the business
Thanks.
side of it. So
Exactly,
it's
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
would you say it's a growing industry, like belly dancing?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think ever since TikTok, I've noticed a trend of a lot of people getting into belly dancing. Shakira has done a great job of popularizing the art. Her performance at the VMAs was everything. I don't know if you guys saw it with the knives.
The most recent one? No, I haven't.
No,
Yeah,
it
no,
was
I
so cool. And I think people look up to that and they
Was it
see
anything like Britney Spears with the knives?
Uh
No,
oh.
not at
Because
all.
if it was, then I don't.
Not at all. No, she was
That was kind of crazy.
she was just amazing. Like, even me as a professional, having done it since I was 13, I was looking at her video because I replicated the video and I posted it. But even me looking at the moves, I'm like, okay, how do I do this and not chop off my hair? Because,
Not trouble, man.
I don't want that to happen. So it was a lot, and it's a hard style of dance, but again, anyone can achieve it. And I think the more people that see this art on TV and on TikTok, the more inspired people are going to be. And I love it. Belly dance is amazing. And the more people that actually know about it, the better it is for us as a community of dancers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you enjoy teaching others how to belly dance?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice. Have you ever like held a class?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I actually have an online course specifically for beginners, and it's pre-recorded. Currently have around 500 students enrolled.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, it's super cool, and something that I really wanted to focus on with my classes is teaching the non-dancer how to do these moves. Because I remember when I was first starting out,
Two
I
left
had
feet.
two left feet. Yeah. And sometimes when people explain the moves, they go kind of fast, and that's natural in dance. But if you're not a dancer, it can be kind of hard to keep up. So really, I wanted to make this class geared toward the person who has not danced a day in their life, but they want to. And so it focuses on a step-by-step approach of learning the moves. There's drills, there's quizzes, and the best part about it is that it doesn't expire. So if there's like a class or a lesson that you want to go back to, you can go back to it at any time.
Very
Nice.
Thanks.
How did you learn about making that class?
So actually it's funny because I was I
Because
was
that's a great idea, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you. I was following a couple other people who were teaching different things like languages, and I saw that they were teaching it on a specific platform, and I said, that's cool. And I kept it in the back of my mind like, oh, I want to do it. But I was guilty of saying I was going to do it and putting it off. Because at this time, I was working in human resources. I had a corporate job, and I was working 40 to 60 hours a week. And when you work 9 to 5, it's one of those things where you get home and all you want to do is sleep. But then I was feeling it was kind of like what you mentioned earlier about every day you don't do the thing that you love, you kind of feel like a part of you is missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what was happening to me. I felt like a part of me was missing, and I said, I really want to start this business. I really want to do my thing with it. And life just kind of happened. 2020, I got laid off. A lot of companies at that time were going under, and unfortunately, I was one of the many people who was affected by that. And so now I had 40 hours of not working to myself. So I said, I'm going to start that class. I'm going to make it. And so I recorded the lesson plans, posted it to the site, and yeah, it's history.
Everything happens for a reason. So you're a
Yeah.
teacher too. Shout out to
Hey.
Helen.
Add it to the list.
Yeah, add it to the list for real.
Thanks.
That's one of the great things about COVID. COVID was horrible. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, people. But one of the great things is that it did free up a lot of time for people, and it allowed people to sit there and think, like, okay, like, what am I gonna do right now? Like, what do I care about? What are my passions?
Mhm.
And I'm gonna try to pursue those. Like, now I have free time.
Absolutely. And the thing is, technology has been so great because a lot of people who otherwise would have a very hard time with starting a business, they're finding it to be possible. Because without online classes, without online learning, without social media, a lot of things would be way harder.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. So would you say that throughout these last couple years you've built up your singing and dancing business pretty solid, or you're still working on it?
I would say that I built up my singing and dancing business pretty solid, yes, but there's always room for improvement. I think now that I've started putting out my own original music, there's a lot of opportunities for that, and also opportunities to mix in my dancing even more with the music in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I see a
Thanks.
music video coming soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking
I
forward
mean,
to
you're a
that.
dancer and a singer, so a music video makes sense. We
Yeah.
have videographers if you need any. Just let
Thank
us
you.
know. We'll
Absolutely.
hook you up. And so yeah, to go off of that, what do you see yourself happening in 2024 as far as just you doing your thing and continuing to pretty much get bigger and bigger? I mean, you said that your social media is popping off, which obviously it's good that you're setting up things like a book and your class, because the more eyes that come to your page and become a follower, the more resources you already have ready for them. So what do you
Yeah.
see yourself like working on this year?
Yeah, I just see myself doing more traveling, more music, maybe more classes, hopefully in the future. There's definitely a lot going on, so balancing all of it will be a big factor and a big challenge, but I'm ready for it. But for sure, definitely more music. I love singing, and I love being able to blend the singing with the dance, and also having the TikTok, just blending all of that in. Definitely more music would be really great.
How often do you dedicate time to music, like creating new music?
Oh, wow. So the writing process for me takes a little bit of time. There are some people that are really, really talented with writing music like in 10 minutes. I'm not like that. It takes me time. So it takes me time to write one song, but after writing it, I go ahead and I record the music. And I would say the process, it could take anywhere. There have been songs that I wrote that took a month to finalize with all the moving factors and the moving parts. And then there have been other songs that took longer. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you go to a recording studio or you do things at home?
I did my first 5 songs I did at home. There was a couple of songs that I mastered with an engineer, but everything was done from my room.
Cool.
And my most recent song was done in a studio.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you're self-taught when it comes to like audio engineering? Like, how did you figure that out?
You know, I wouldn't even say self-taught
I feel
because
like you
I
spend a
low
lot of
key
time on YouTube.
I do.
Yeah.
I
I
do.
do.
I spend a lot of time on YouTube, but I wouldn't even say I knew what I was doing when I was recording. It was one of those things where I got GarageBand and I just recorded and I kept recording until it sounded good.
Yeah.
And then I went ahead and sent it in for mastering.
Cool.
But the good thing about YouTube is that for people like me who I'm not very GarageBand savvy or Audacity savvy,
Yeah.
so YouTube at least helped me create a file.
100%.
Yeah, you got started. That's all that
I got
matters.
I
started.
get where he's coming from. We've
Yeah.
both dabbled in music, so and we don't have amazing voices, so we need all the effects, all the plugins. Like,
Yeah.
luckily, like your voice is like extremely like talented. Like you hit
Thank you.
crazy notes, like you go up and down, like you do everything a great singer does. So I'm
Thank
sure
you.
like you recording into the thing, like, oh, it sounds pretty good. To us, when we record it dry,
Uh-huh.
it sounds like crap from
Yeah.
the get. So
Yeah,
you gotta, you
literally.
need an engineer there to start fixing stuff.
You did the opposite. You just naturally perfected your voice, and then the mastering enhances it. But yeah, we're the
Thanks.
opposite.
Yeah.
But you have like a really nice voice. You're well spoken
you.
too. I feel
Thanks.
like you could be a Disney princess,
Thank
honestly.
you.
Like,
Thanks.
but yeah, I mean, singing. I'm sure you're gonna blow up with that, especially now that you're going into the studio and maybe a music video is coming out soon. So that's exciting.
Yeah. I'm looking
What
forward
would you
to it.
say to someone that wants to get into belly dancing but doesn't like know where to well, I wouldn't say know where to start because now you know where to start.
Yeah.
But yeah, that has 2 left feet and they don't know how to
Yeah.
dance.
The number one advice I have for anybody that wants to learn how to belly dance is to take professional classes. YouTube is great, TikTok is great, the tutorials on social media, they're good as supplementary videos, or excuse me, supplemental videos, but what you're really going to learn in classes is going to help you get to the next level. Belly dance is a technical dance. It's a classical dance, just like ballet. You can get hurt in this style of dance, so it's important to get a good, strong foundation with a good, strong teacher. Aside from that, the other things would be to never lose sight of who you are. It's important to have a really strong sense of self in anything that you do. Once you have a strong sense of self, once you know who you are, everything else is going to fall into place. If you don't know who you are as a dancer or as any artist, you're going to want to be like somebody else, and your audience is going to see that. And so I talk a little bit about that in the book as well, about finding who you are. It's not going to happen overnight. You may have to try different things to see what feels like you and what doesn't, and go from there.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
And then I also want to put like talent to the side because you're a singer, you're a dancer, and all that. But for anyone that's listening that maybe has their own talent that has nothing to do with singing or dancing, but they're stuck in that like 9 to 5 cycle and they just haven't taken that leap yet, what do you say to someone like that that's listening that wants to do something else but is kind of like flirting with the idea and hasn't made that decision?
Never lose sight of your goals. I think that sometimes having that 9 to 5 job is necessary in order to invest in what you really want to do. But on top of that, other factors. Like there's a book that I read, it's by John C. Maxwell. It's called How Successful People Think. He talks about how you're the total of the people that you hang around. When you're surrounding yourself, you're a product of your environment. So when you surround yourself with people who all they think about is that 9 to 5, they don't have other dreams, which is fine. Some people, that's what they like, and that's totally fine, but it's just a different environment. You're going to hear opinions that aren't going to align with what you want to do. So it's important to surround yourself with people who have a dream, people who are working towards something, people who have goals. Because once you have that, that's going to already get you on the right track. These people are going to push you to be the very best you can be. You don't want to be hanging around people that try to speak down on your dreams. And when you have that solid group, or that solid, I would say that solid environment, the next thing is to just have a laser focus. Because once you see what you want, as you get there, as you're on the road to get there, there's going to be roadblocks. There's going to be signs all over telling you, oh, why don't you stop now? Why don't you, oh, there's this bad thing. There's this thing that can happen, you know? And so it's all about having that vision and not letting anything get in your way, because the higher you go, the more things will get in your way.
Is that how, or is that something you experienced? Like,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely a thing of and you learn, you know. I've heard everything from, oh, that's just a dream. Oh, why don't you just play it safe? I've even heard things like, oh, you know what? You can't do this because you don't have this, this, and this. And it's like, okay, but I'm going to do it because I want to, and I see myself doing it, and it might be harder. The road might be a little bit longer and it might be more challenging, but at the end of the day, all of us have things that we want to achieve, and all of us have challenges. And now I'm very grateful to say I have great friends who are all working on their dreams, and we all push each other to be the best versions of ourselves. So I'm really blessed to have that.
Yeah.
that's important.
Yeah.
That's you need that, because like you said, if you're hanging around people that don't have the same vision as you or don't have dreams or goals, then they're not gonna. You guys aren't gonna be talking about the same stuff, and
Absolutely.
a lot
Yeah.
of gossip could be talked about, and just
And that's why you got to learn who you are,
Oh,
so that you can
absolutely.
understand those things that drive you, so that you know what you want to pursue.
Oh, yeah.
So
Absolutely. And that's why having a sense of self and knowing who you are is so important. Because when you know who you are, if somebody says something that doesn't align with what your vision is, you already know who you are. So it's like, okay, well, I know what I am. I'm going to keep on pushing and keep on going toward my goal. No one can love you like the way you can love yourself. So self love, self confidence, knowing yourself, all of those things are vital if you want to get ahead.
I agree.
Mhm.
And just for anyone that's listening that I guess hasn't found themselves yet,
Mhm.
what is it that helped you find yourself?
Trial and error. Trial and error. So doing things, sometimes feeling defeated. I did absolutely feel defeated when I was in singing competitions or dance competitions, and sometimes I didn't even place. I would feel like, oh, wow, okay, what is it that I need to improve on? And it was something where I was able to see the bad, but also see the good in the bad. Because, like you mentioned earlier, taking an L is actually, it's not a loss, it's a lesson. So when you start to look at your L's as lessons, everything changes. The perspective changes, the vibe changes. So, yeah.
no, it's huge.
Yeah, that's a great. I'd never thought of it that way, but that's a
Mhm.
great thing to look at. Like,
Losses to lessons.
yeah. I'm gonna clip that
It's a
out for
quote.
sure.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. This has been a great conversation. We
Mhm.
already know you're headed into the right direction. That's why you're on the show.
Thank you.
It's been great knowing about how you got into singing and then dancing as well, and where you plan on taking it. You're already making the moves towards it. You already got one book out. We're gonna be waiting for that music video. We're gonna be
Looking forward to it.
pushing you to do that because we're supporters of you as well. We're gonna
Thank
keep
you.
supporting you on your journey. And is there anything else that you want to tell the listeners going into this year that you want to talk about, or just follow you and we'll see what happens?
Definitely, I would like to say to everyone with a dream, everyone who has a passion that maybe they haven't explored yet. Use 2024 as your time and your moment to explore it. Failures, losses, all of those things are things that you can learn from. So just remember that and go for it, and remember to sparkle.
Remember to sparkle. That's
Mhm.
how we're gonna end it. You already know. Thank you again, Helen, for your
Thank you
time
for coming.
and for everything that we've learned about you today. And we're gonna continue to support you.
Thank
And
you.
until next time, we'll have you back on the show, maybe a couple
Thanks.
months later or a year later, and we'll talk about how 2024 was for you and where you're gonna be headed next year.
Looking forward to it. Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Anytime. Until next time, the hustle continues.
Yes.